When the vibration of my phone alarm pierced through my eardrums, I suddenly opened my eyes, my chest heaving violently, and cold sweat instantly soaking the collar of my pajamas. Before me was the familiar layout of my university dormitory, with beds above and desks below, and an unfinished design draft still on the desk. On the wall was a photo of me and Sunayanian. In the photo, I was smiling innocently, my arm around hers, my eyes full of trust in the person beside me. I raised my hand to touch my cheek. The warm sensation was incredibly real, not the coldness of the hospital, nor the excruciating pain of the car accident. Looking down at my phone, the date on the screen was sharp and clear, exactly the day of our graduation trip, just like in my previous life. Yui, get up, we're waiting for you. The dormitory door was knocked on, and Sunayanian's voice came through the door, sweet and cloying. Exactly the same as when she urged me to leave in my previous life. I took a deep breath, suppressing the emotions surging within me, and deliberately spoke softly, my voice carrying a hint of weakness. Nayanian, I'm not feeling well, I might not be able to go. There was a pause outside the door, then came Sunayanian's impatient but concerned voice. What's wrong? You were fine last night, weren't you? Did you not sleep well? I don't know, I woke up with a stomachache this morning. It comes and goes, and it's so painful that I'm sweating profusely. I curled up in bed, deliberately slowing down my speech, mimicking the state of real abdominal pain. I really can't go with you, you guys go ahead. Oh, how can that be? The graduation trip only happens once. It's such a pity. Sunayanian pushed the door open and walked in, her face showing just the right amount of concern, but her eyes quickly scanned my desk, landing on the stack of design drafts before quickly moving away. Why don't I call Jiangyi-chen to come and take a look at you? He said yesterday that he wanted to take good care of you. I sneered inwardly. Just like in my previous life, Sunayanian seemed to be concerned about me, but in reality, she was afraid I wouldn't go, without me to block Jiangyi-chen's indifference, and without me to let him continue pretending to be close to me in front of our classmates. No need. I gently shook my head, my tone carrying a hint of detachment. It's just a normal stomachache. I'll drink some hot water and lie down for a while. Don't bother him, you guys should leave quickly, don't waste everyone's time. Just as I was speaking, Jiangyi-chen's voice came from the doorway. Yui, what's wrong? Ninya said you're not feeling well. He walked in, wearing a clean white t-shirt, his eyes gentle, with a soft smile at the corner of his mouth. He was a completely different man from the one in my past life who, after the car accident, pushed me out to shield himself from danger in order to save his own life. Ichen, my stomach hurts, I can't go on the trip. I lowered my eyes, hiding the coldness in them, trying to make my voice sound pitiful and helpless. Jiangyi-chen frowned, the concern in his tone fading slightly, replaced by a hint of impatience. Why does your stomach have to hurt today of all days? We've already made plans with everyone. It'll be such a letdown if you don't go. Can't you tough it out? Once we get there, we can find a hospital to check it out. It won't ruin the fun. I looked up at him, pretending to be weak and biting my lower lip. I can't tough it out. It hurts so much I can't even stand up. If I go, I'll just hold everyone back. Let's just forget it. At that moment, Lu Zixuan also walked in, scratching his head with an honest and sincere expression. Yui, are you really not going? That's such a shame. We've grown up together since we were kids, and this is the last trip we'll take with our classmates. How about I take you to the school clinic? If you're fine after the checkup, we can still catch up with them. I knew perfectly well that Lu Zixuan wasn't genuinely concerned about taking me to the hospital. He was just afraid I wouldn't go. Without me around, no one would speak up for him in front of Jiangyi-chen. After all, a lot of his living expenses over the past few years had been obtained from my parents under the pretense of being for me. No need, Zixuan. I waved my hand, my tone firm. I really can't go. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave. Don't keep everyone waiting. Seeing my resolute attitude, Jiangyi-chen's impatience was now fully visible in his eyes, though he still maintained a gentle facade. All right then, rest well, drink plenty of warm water, and call me if anything happens. He paused, then added, I'll send you photos from the trip. Don't feel too bad about missing out. Sun Yanyo chimed in as well, though the concern in her tone was gone. Yeah, Yui, we'll head up first, rest well. And if you're really in pain, give us a call. Lu Zixuan nodded along. Right, Yui, take care, we're off. Without another word, the three of them turned and left. The sound of the door closing was hurried, clearly indicating they were eager to set off and hadn't taken my discomfort to heart at all. Lying in bed, I listened as their footsteps gradually faded away, disappearing completely at the end of the hallway. Only then did I slowly sit up, the faint weakness in my eyes instantly vanishing, replaced by nothing but coldness and relief. I walked to the window, lifted a corner of the curtain, and watched as Jiangyi-chen, Sun Yanyo, and Lu Zixuan joined the other classmates downstairs. Jian Yichen was speaking impatiently into his phone, Su Nianyao was clinging to his arm with a coquettish smile on her face, and Lu Zixuan stood nearby with a flattering grin, occasionally chiming in with a few words. It was exactly the same scene as in my past life, only this time I was no longer that Lian Yue who had set off with them, full of joy, only to end up dying in a car accident. I took out my phone, but didn't send them any messages. Instead, I quietly opened the class group chat, watching as everyone enthusiastically discussed the trip. My fingertips felt slightly cold. I knew it wouldn't be long before this lively chat would be flooded with overwhelming bad news, and I had finally avoided the disaster that had taken everything from me. After they left, I turned off my phone alarm, got up, and poured myself a cup of hot water. Only when my fingertips touched the warmth of the cup did I fully confirm that I had truly escaped that predetermined tragedy. I didn't rush to lie down and pretend to be sick. Instead, I sat at my desk, my gaze falling on the stack of design drafts. In my past life, Su Nianyao had taken advantage of the graduation trip to secretly copy this set of designs. Later, she used these drafts to secure the job offer I had wanted at my dream company, and even lied to our teachers and classmates, claiming they were her original work. My phone vibrated, a message from Su Nianyao. Her tone was perfunctory. Yue, we're on the bus now, rest well, okay. It was followed by a cute emoji and a photo of her and Jian Yichen. They were sitting close together, her head resting on Jian Yichen's shoulder, her eyes unable to hide her smugness. I didn't reply, but I took a screenshot and saved the message. In my past life, seeing this photo would have only made me feel wronged and sad, thinking it was because I wasn't there that they had grown so close, but now it was clear that their ambiguous relationship had never been accidental. Just as I put down my phone, there was another knock on the dormitory door. It was Chensi. He was in the same class as me, straightforward in personality and not one to join the crowd. In my past life, he hadn't participated in this graduation trip, and he was the only one who had been willing to help me later, when my parents had their accident and Jian Yichen and the others had avoided me. Lian Yue, are you really not going? He asked. Zhao Lei just asked in the group chat, saying you're the only one missing. Chensi pushed the door open, holding a bread in his hand. His tone was direct, without any unnecessary pleasantries. I saw you weren't saying anything in the group chat earlier, so I came to check if you were really feeling unwell. I looked up at him, a faint smile appearing on my face. There was no feigned weakness, only genuine calm. I really don't feel well. My stomach hurts, probably ate something bad last night, so I won't be joining the fun. Chensi nodded and placed the bread on my desk. Then you rest well. I won't go either. I didn't want to go in the first place. A bunch of people making noise. It's better to catch up on sleep in the dorm. Oh, I have some painkillers and stomach medicine here. Take one if it hurts too much. Don't tough it out. As he spoke, he rummaged through his bag and pulled out a medicine box, placing it by my hand. He didn't pry further, nor did he offer insincere comfort. This just right concern warmed my heart. In my previous life, I had been so focused on Jian Yichen and Su Nianyao that I overlooked this clear-headed and sincere person beside me. Thank you, Chensi, I said softly, taking the medicine box to have a look. It's nothing, we're all classmates. Chensi waved it off, sitting down at his own desk and turning on his computer. Oh, by the way, Jian Yichen just messaged me, asking if you're really not going and telling me to take care of you. I don't think he's that worried though, probably just going through the motions. I smirked, as I had expected. Jian Yichen's concern was always for show. What he cared about was never me, but the benefits my family could bring him. As we spoke, my phone rang again. It was Jian Yichen. I glanced at it but didn't pick up immediately, letting it ring 3 times before I slowly answered, my voice still carrying a hint of weakness. Hey, Yue, how are you feeling? Still in pain? Jian Yichen's voice sounded a bit chaotic, likely on the bus, with the background noise of classmates' laughter and Su Nianyau's giggles. It still hurts a bit. I just took some medicine and am about to lie down. I deliberately slowed my speech, my tone calm, free of the dependence and grievance I had shown in my previous life. Jian Yichen was silent for a few seconds, his impatience creeping back into his voice. All right then, rest well, we're about to leave, so I won't talk much. Call me if anything happens. Okay, I replied simply, hanging up before he could say anything more. After hanging up, Chensi looked at me, his brow furrowed. He's way too perfunctory, isn't he? You're not feeling well, and he can't even ask a few more questions. I think he just wants to get to the trip as soon as possible and doesn't really care about you. I smiled, not explaining, just breaking off a piece of the bread on my desk and putting it in my mouth. It's fine, I never expected him to care much anyway, by the way. Since you're not going on the trip, what are you planning to do in the dorm? What else? Work on my graduation project and send out some resumes. Chensi sighed. Unlike some people, who made a big show of their graduation trip, their mind's not on the actual matter at hand. He paused, then added, I noticed Su Nianyao's dress today. It looks a lot like the one you bought last time. Probably another knockoff. Huh, I understood in my heart. Su Nianyao had always been like this, whether it was clothes, bags, or even my design concepts, he liked to imitate them. In my previous life, I had foolishly thought he admired my taste, but now I realized it was jealousy, a desire to become me. Maybe, as long as he likes it. My tone was calm, my face expressionless compared to the anger and grievance of my previous life. Now I only find it laughable. At that moment, Chensi's phone rang. It was Zhao Lei calling. He picked up the phone and listened for a few moments, his brow furrowing even more. What do you mean it's overloaded? Your bus was only supposed to seat 30 people. How did you add 5 more? No, it's not okay. The mountain road is dangerous. Overloading is too unsafe. I paused with the bread in my hand, my heart suddenly tightening. Here it comes. Just like in my previous life, Zhao Lei organized the trip, and for a bit more money, he secretly took in 5 extra people, causing the bus to be overloaded. This was also one of the reasons for the later accident, Zhao Lei said. Something on the other end of the line, and Chensi's tone grew even more urgent. I don't care what you think, overloading is not allowed. What if something happens? You guys better get those 5 people off the bus right now, or don't even bother leaving. After hanging up the phone, Chensi cursed in anger. They're crazy. Zhao Lei, just to make a bit more money, actually dared to overload the bus. That was a winding mountain road. How dangerous it was. I looked at him and said softly, it's no use, they've already decided to leave. They won't listen to you. I knew this in my heart. In my previous life, Zhao Lei was also like this, blinded by profit, insisting on overloading, ultimately leading to the tragedy. Chensi sighed, looking helpless. Yeah, everyone's just thinking about having fun. Who cares about safety? He asked. Shouldn't you tell your parents to be more careful? Or send a message to Jiang Yichen and the others to remind them? No need. I shook my head, my tone firm. Even if I said something, they wouldn't listen. Instead, they'd think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. It's better to just stay quiet. In truth, I knew that even if I had warned them, it wouldn't have changed anything. The tragedy of my previous life was already sealed the moment they decided to overload and casually treat safety. All I can do is stay right here, watching them pay the price they deserve for their selfishness and recklessness. Seeing how determined I was, Chensi didn't say anything more and just lowered his head to continue working on his graduation project. The dorm was quiet, with only the sound of keyboard tapping and the occasional chirping of birds outside the window. Leaning back in my chair, I took out my phone and opened the class group chat. It was still buzzing with activity. Everyone was discussing the travel itinerary, and no one mentioned the overloading issue. Jiang Yichen and Su Nianyao were still posting couple photos in the group, showing off their closeness. While Lu Zixuan chimed in with flattering remarks, I silently scrolled through the messages, my eyes calm and emotionless. I knew this liveliness wouldn't last long. In just a few hours, this group chat would be flooded with fear and sorrow, and those who were celebrating now would soon pay a heavy price for their actions. Time ticked by, and the dorm remained quiet except for the sound of Chensi typing on his keyboard. On the surface, I calmly flipped through my design drafts, but inside, I felt as if a heavy stone were pressing on my heart, counting down every second. My phone lay face down on the table, its screen lighting up from time to time with messages from the class group chat, some sharing scenery along the way, others posting snacks. Su Nianyao even sent a short video. The camera pointed at the trees speeding past outside the window. She said with a laugh, "The mountain road is so winding, but the view is absolutely beautiful." In the video, Jiang Yichen could be heard teasing her for being delicate, while Lu Zixuan joined in the banter. The bus was filled with noise and excitement. My fingers tightened slightly. This was the exact stretch of road. In my past life, it was on the series of sharp turns that the bus, overloaded, speeding, and with a fatigued driver, swerved off the road and crashed through the guardrail. Chensi suddenly stopped typing and looked at me. "Why are you so pale? Are you still in pain?" I forced a weak smile. "It's nothing, maybe just a bit of low blood sugar." He immediately stood up to find some candy for me. I grabbed his arm. "Really, it's fine, I'll be okay." After sitting for a while, as soon as I finished speaking, my phone began vibrating wildly, not with messages, but with calls, one after another, almost shattering the screen. The first call was from Zhao Lei. Staring at those 3 characters, my heart sank heavily. Chensi also sensed something was wrong and lowered his voice. "What's going on? Why is he calling at this hour?" I took a deep breath and answered the call, trying to keep my voice as steady as possible. Hey, Zhao Lei. The other end of the line was a chaotic mess, with the sounds of wind, screams, and cries blending together, piercing and making my scalp tingle. Zhao Lei's voice was trembling uncontrollably, choked with sobs. Lian Yue, something's happened, something big. The bus flipped over. My fingertips were icy, but I was unusually calm, as if I had already known this would happen. I spoke slowly. What happened? The turn was too sharp. The steering didn't adjust in time, and the bus flipped down the slope. Many people are injured, blood everywhere. Zhao Lei almost shouted. Jian Yichen, Su Nianyao, Lu Zixuan, they're all trapped. I was thrown out. I'm calling the police. I've already called the police. Qinshi beside me heard everything clearly. Her face turned pale instantly, and she stood up abruptly. It really flipped over. I had said it before, overloading is not allowed. I didn't say anything, just spoke calmly into the phone. First, save those who can be saved. Wait for the police and ambulances. Aren't you worried? Zhao Lei was stunned for a moment, probably not expecting my reaction to be so calm. Jian Yichen, they're still inside, I said with a tone of indifference. Worrying won't help, even if I go now. I can't do anything. You should coordinate with the rescue efforts first. After hanging up, the class group chat exploded. The bus flipped over. Is it true or false? I just got a call from my roommate, crying about the accident. Many people are seriously injured. Does anyone have contact information? Call quickly. Messages kept popping up, scrolling like a screen. The previous laughter and joy had completely disappeared, replaced by panic and chaos. My phone rang again. This time it was Jian Yichen's mother. I stared at the screen but didn't pick up. In my previous life, after the car accident, he was the first to call, not to ask how badly I was injured, but to question why I hadn't taken care of his son. The ringing stopped on its own, and then came Su Nianya's mother, Lu Zixuan's mother, a string of calls from their families. Chenxi looked shocked. You're not going to answer. Answering would only lead to being scolded. My voice was very soft. They'll only think I didn't go, that I did it on purpose. Chenxi was silent, probably not understanding why I was so certain, but he didn't ask more. Just nodded. Then don't answer. I'll help you block them. A few minutes later, someone in the group sent a photo of the scene. It was unclear who took it, but a white bus was crookedly stuck halfway up the mountain, its body severely deformed, glass shattered all over the ground, with rescue workers everywhere. Someone immediately replied below, "Is that our bus?" "Yes, that's the one." I stared at the picture, and the stifling anger that had been pent up for 2 lifetimes finally began to dissipate bit by bit. It wasn't sadness, nor sympathy, but relief. In my previous life, I was also on that bus. When I was thrown out, Jian Yichen, to protect himself, held onto Su Nianya and pushed me outward, while Lu Zixuan only cared about climbing out himself, not even glancing back at me. Su Nianya, before losing consciousness, was still trying to snatch the protective pendant my parents had given me. Back then, I was in so much pain that I thought I was going to die. Yet I naively believed they would save me. They were my most beloved, my best friends, my closest childhood companions, but until my consciousness faded, I never saw their hands reach out. Yu Chengxi looked at me cautiously. "Are you okay? Don't scare me." I came back to my senses, gently shook my head, my eyes clear. "I'm fine, better than I've ever been." My phone lit up again, this time with a push notification from a local news outlet, the headline glaring: "Sudden bus rollover accident on Mountain Road. Multiple people trapped, rescue underway." I opened the image. It was their bus. The reporter's voice was serious and heavy. According to reports, this bus was suspected of serious overloading. The driver had been driving for too long, and the specific cause of the accident is under further investigation. I slowly put down my phone, leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes. Everything was exactly the same as in my previous life, except this time, I wasn't on the bus, I was alive, awake, watching them walk into the abyss they had dug for themselves. Rescue messages kept flooding into the class group, and the once lively chat was completely overwhelmed by panic and inquiries. Some were crying, some were asking about the situation, and others kept tagging everyone involved in the trip, but most of the profile pictures remained dark. Chenxi stayed by my side, constantly scrolling through messages and local news, his face still tense. "Yue, the latest news is out," he said, his voice tight. "The traffic police confirmed it, severe overloading plus driver fatigue. The whole responsibility lies with the convoy and the organizers." I hummed in response, my emotions not much affected. As I already knew this, Zhao Lei just sent a message in the group. He only suffered minor injuries and has been sent to the hospital at the foot of the mountain. Chenxi scrolled through the screen, his brows furrowing deeper. He said, "The ones trapped the longest in the car were Jian Yichen, Su Nianyao, and Lu Zixuan." My fingertips paused. "Why?" I asked, my tone indifferent, as if inquiring about something unrelated to me. Chenxi sighed, lowering his voice even more. "Zhao Lei Didn't say it explicitly, but the implication is clear. When the car flipped, the three of them were squeezed in the same row. When the rescuers arrived, Jian Yichen was shielding Su Nianyao inside, stuck on the outside himself, while Lu Zixuan, trying to climb out first, ended up blocking the passage by squeezing with them. I sneered inwardly. Exactly the same. In my previous life, they acted the same way, thinking only of themselves in the face of life and death. My phone rang again, this time from Jian Yichen himself, his name flashing on the screen. I stared at it for a few seconds before slowly picking up. Jian Yichen's voice was weak and hoarse, tinged with sobs, and in the background, the voices of medical staff were chaotic. I'm in so much pain, I'm so scared. Where are you? Can you come and see me? I listened quietly, not responding immediately. In my previous life, when I was on the verge of death in the hospital bed, he was the same, first complaining of pain, first expressing fear, never asking how I was. I'm in the dorm, I said calmly. I can't come over, the hospital doesn't allow random visits. How can you not come? Jian Yichen's voice suddenly rose, filled with grievance and accusation. I'm like this, you're my girlfriend, shouldn't you come over immediately? Do you even care about me at all? I raised an eyebrow lightly. Even at this moment, he still tried to bind me with our relationship. You know I wasn't feeling well this morning, I said, my tone unhurried. If I go now, I won't be of any help and might just cause trouble. You should cooperate with the treatment. The doctors are taking care of you. What good are doctors? I want you. He was almost overbearing. Su Nianyao is here with me, and you, as my girlfriend, are hiding in the dormitory. Su Nianyao, I sneered inwardly, as expected. At a time like this, the first name that came out of his mouth was still hers. If she's willing to accompany you, that's her business, I said, my tone cooling. I'm not convenient. Lian Yue and Jian Yichen were furious. Were you deliberately doing this? Did you never want to come on this graduation trip? If you didn't come, and I got into trouble, you wouldn't come either. What exactly do you mean? I remained silent for a moment, then replied to him clearly, word by word. I don't mean anything, I just don't feel well and am not convenient to go out. Before he could make a scene again, I hung up the phone and turned the ringtone to silent. Qinshi, who was watching all this, couldn't help but speak up. He's too shameless, blaming you for not coming when he got into trouble himself. Who was it this morning who kept urging you to leave? Now he's turning around and accusing you. He's always like this, I said calmly, not elaborating further. Not long after, Su Nianyao called. I answered as well. Auntie Yu, please come to the hospital, okay? She sobbed, her voice delicate and weak. Yichen, he's hurt so badly. I can't take care of him alone. You're his girlfriend, you have to come. I listened quietly, recalling the past life. He had done the same, holding Jian Yichen's hand when I was critically injured and unconscious, playing the role of the most considerate person. I can't go. My tone remained unchanged. I'm not feeling well, and even if I went, I wouldn't be of any help. But everyone is talking about you, Su Nianyao said in a lowered voice, pretending to be troubled. They say you're clearly fine, just deliberately not coming, deliberately ignoring us. If you don't come, how will the classmates look at you in the future? He was threatening me, using public opinion to force me, but I didn't care. I interrupted him directly, telling them to focus on their recovery and not worry about what others say. I hung up the phone again, and soon Lu Zixuan's call came through. His tone was even more humble than the previous two. Yue, I'm in so much pain, my whole body hurts. Can you come and see me? My parents haven't arrived yet, and I'm scared alone. Listening to his pitiful voice, I only felt absurd. In my previous life, after crawling out of the car, he had clearly seen me trapped underneath, but out of fear of trouble, he turned and left without even calling for help. I can't come. I repeated the same words. Just wait for your parents to arrive. After hanging up, Qinshi couldn't help but curse. These three people are really something. Instead of thanking the rescuers, they come to pressure you. You didn't go, and you actually saved your life, yet they feel you owe them. I smiled but didn't say anything. They don't think I owe them, they're just used to my unconditional obedience, my availability at any time, my self-sacrifice to fulfill them, my habit of always putting them first. But this time, I'm not playing along. In the evening, news coverage began in full force, with TV stations directly broadcasting breaking news. The camera focused on the hospital and the accident site, and the host's tone was grave. The bus rollover accident was caused by 3 factors: severe overloading, driver fatigue, and excessive speed on mountain roads. Multiple injuries have been reported, with some being serious, and the responsible parties have been detained. The screen briefly captured Jian Yichen, Su Nianyao, and Lu Zixuan in the hospital corridor. Jian Yichen's leg was in a cast, his face pale, yet he still made sure to protect Su Nianyao. Su Nianyao had a bandage on Her forehead, looking wronged as she leaned on his shoulder, while Lu Zixuan, with his arm in a sling, shrank to the side, trying to avoid the camera. In just a few seconds, the footage vividly showed their misery and selfishness. Qinshi quietly said as she watched the screen, "Zhao Lei just told me secretly that when the bus overturned, Jian Yichen's first reaction was to pull Sun Yanyan into his arms and push others away, while Lu Zixuan, in his rush to escape, almost injured someone else." I stared at the TV screen, my gaze calm and unwavering. In my previous life, they treated me the same way. This time, it's just a different person, but their nature remains unchanged. In the class group chat, people gradually began to reveal the truth. Zhao Lei said that their row was the most selfish. No wonder they were trapped the longest. It was because they blocked the way themselves. They seemed close in normal times, but when something happened, they acted like this. It's a blessing that Lian Yue didn't go. One message after another slowly tore off their masks of pretense. I read those words, watched their disheveled appearance on TV, and felt no hatred, no resentment, just a sense of relief. They finally paid the price for their selfishness and luck. The next morning, social news spread widely, with local platforms, short videos, and public accounts almost all flooded with coverage of the bus accident. The headlines were striking and blunt, leaving no room for sympathy. Graduation trip turns tragic. Bus overloaded and violations lead to rollover, multiple college students injured. I clicked on the news, and the high-definition footage cut straight to the hospital. Jian Yichen, leaning on a crutch, had a gloomy face, surrounded by reporters. Sun Yanyan had her head wrapped in gauze, trying to avoid the camera but still captured clearly. Lu Zixuan had his arm in a sling, his eyes darting around, afraid of being recognized. The report didn't sugarcoat anything, directly laying out the causes of the accident: overloading, driver fatigue, and lack of oversight by the organizers. Some passengers only cared about their own escape during the accident, exacerbating the internal injuries and making rescue more difficult. That single sentence tore away their last shred of dignity. Chenzi leaned over to take a look and let out a cold laugh. "Now, the whole school knows about their little drama." I didn't say anything, my fingers lightly swiping across the screen. The comment section had exploded with criticism from passers-by. "Overloading and still daring to take the mountain road. What a big heart." I heard that when the accident happened, someone just rushed to escape, blocking the rescue exit. Too selfish. They're all classmates. How could they do that? That girl who didn't go is so lucky. She literally dodged a bullet. Seeing the last comment, I gently raised the corner of my mouth. It wasn't luck. I pulled myself out of hell with my own hands. My phone vibrated almost simultaneously with 3 messages, one each from Jian Yichen, Sun Yanyan, Lu Zixuan, and Lian Yue. "Are you satisfied? Now everyone is scolding us. Did you know this would happen?" I looked at those words and felt only ridicule. Even now, he's blaming others and never reflecting on himself. Sun Yanyan, "Yue, the news made us look so bad. Can you help us explain? Say we didn't mean it." He cared until the end about that fake face, about how others saw him, but he never cared. Once, I almost died in that bus because of them. Lu Zixuan, "Yue, my parents are almost furious knowing that something happened to me. They said they're coming to ask you about the situation, so don't say anything reckless." Threats again. Threats. In my previous life, I was manipulated like this over and over again. My finger hovered over the screen, but I didn't reply to anyone. I deleted all 3 messages and blocked all 3 of them. The world instantly became quiet. Chenzi caught a glimpse of my actions and was stunned. "You deleted them all?" I nodded, speaking lightly. "No more contact from now on. It should have been done long ago." Chenzi slapped the table, looking relieved. "A bunch of selfish people. Keeping them around would just be a nuisance. Not going was the best decision of this life." I smiled, looking out the window where the sunlight was just right, shining on my desk and the stack of unfinished design drafts. In my previous life, these drafts were stolen by Sun Yanyan and became her stepping stone. This time, they are clean and complete, belonging only to me. Not long after, the class group received a notice from the counselor. The responsibility for the accident was clear. Zhao Lei, the organizer, bore the main responsibility. The team and the driver were legally dealt with. All injured students were handled according to regulations. The school would no longer organize group outings and would focus on preparing for graduation. The group was silent. No one mentioned the trip anymore. No one envied the so-called friendship of Jian Yichen, Sun Yanyan, and Lu Zixuan. Everyone tacitly agreed that the 3 of them had become examples of what not to do. I put down my phone, stood up, and walked to the window. Below, people came and went, all soon-to-be graduates, laughing and playing as they headed toward their respective futures. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments. Section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. After we came of age, Mom had us draw from the system. My sister was lucky and drew the genius system. I was unlucky and drew the useless system. Later, my sister started a successful business and became a famous female entrepreneur, but was morally blackmailed by my parents and relentlessly exploited by relatives. Because I refused to help once, a relative held a grudge and reported that my sister had a system in her body. My sister was taken away by the research institute, used as an experimental subject, and died tragically on the operating table. Because I was timid and easy to control, a wealthy young man from City A praised me for being obedient and sensible, and spent $300 million to marry me into a rich family. Opening my eyes again, I was back on the day Mom had us draw lots for the system, ignoring Mom's protests. My older sister snatched away the useless system. Little sister, it's my turn to enjoy a life of luxury with a wealthy family this time. As for you, just wait to become a lab rat. Meeting her malicious gaze, I smiled. I've lived a whole life, yet I haven't made any progress. No wonder I was played for a fool in my past life. Rose, you always said I favored your sister. This time, you go first. My mother, with a kind and gentle expression, handed me the box containing the system. Seeing that I wasn't moving, she affectionately grabbed my hand and pushed it into the box. Silly child, why are you being so polite? Why should she draw first? I'm the older sister, and there's an order based on age. I should go first. The sister, who had been standing by in a daze, suddenly pushed me aside and eagerly reached her hand into the box. Mom tried to move the box away, but my sister held it down firmly. My sister opened the system she had drawn from the box. It was a useless system. She shed tears of joy, looking at me with a pitiful gaze. At this moment, I was absolutely certain that my sister had also been reborn in her previous life. My sister was fortunate enough to bind with the wise star system, and from then on, her life took off. She transformed from an underachiever into a top student, got into a prestigious university in the college entrance exam, successfully started a business right after graduation, and became an enviable female CEO. It's just a pity that she is led by the nose by her parents, helping her paternal cousin one day and assisting her maternal uncle the next. These relatives are like leeches, one worse than the other, clinging to her and sucking her dry. At once, a parasitic relative made an excessive demand, and she refused to help, disregarding the many times she had helped in the past. The relative reported to the research institute that she had a system. My sister was taken by the research institute, used as an experimental subject, and died tragically on the operating table. Meanwhile, I bound with a useless system, timid and easy to control, praised by a wealthy young master from City A4. Being obedient and sensible, who then spent $300 million to marry me into a wealthy family. My in-laws are kind, and my husband adores me. I became the envy of women across the country. My sister was always jealous, and before she died, she made sure to tell the people at the research institute that I also have a system. I tried to drive away to escape, but the research institute's car forced me off a cliff, and my body was never found. That useless system belongs to your sister, even if you take it out, it's still hers. You're the older sister, you can't take what belongs to your younger sister. My mother spoke sternly and urgently rushed to snatch the system from my sister's hands. I watched my mother's performance with sarcasm. When Lisa snatched my clothes, my toys, and even my prizes before, why didn't she say those were mine? In my previous life, after I married into a wealthy family, Lisa came home and caused a huge scene. That was when I realized that, from the very beginning, my mother had deliberately made me draw the useless system. She wanted Lisa to get the smart star system, but she was afraid that if she gave it directly to Lisa, outsiders would accuse her of favoritism and criticize Lisa for bullying her younger sister. So to have the best of both worlds, she specially ordered a box. Only when the first system is drawn will the second system be released. Inside the box, she had pre-placed a useless system. Whoever draws first will get the useless system. Only then will the genius system be released. I used to think that although Mom always favored Lisa since childhood, she was fair when it came to major life events like system extraction. Lisa tightly hid the useless system, shielding it behind her, and gave me an unfriendly glare. Give me the useless system. Mom glared at Lisa with disappointment. She winked at Lisa frantically, hinting at her intensely several times. She almost blurted out what was on her mind, but Lisa was extremely wary of her mother. Just as her mother turned around to call her father to subdue Lisa and hand over the system, she had already bound with the useless system. Hearing the unique sound of the binding system, Mom quickly turned around, but it was already too late to stop it. Filled with anger and resentment, Mom raised her hand in frustration. Unable to bring herself to hit Lisa, she suddenly turned and slapped me hard across the face with a swift, forceful motion. Why didn't you draw the system first instead of letting Lisa do it. Are you trying to provoke me on purpose? It was a done deal that Lisa was bound to the waste system. Mom resentfully threw the system drawing box to the ground, then pulled Lisa away. As she walked past me, Lisa was radiant. She leaned close to my ear and whispered in a hushed voice, "Sister, it's my turn to enjoy a life of luxury in a wealthy family. As for you, just wait to be captured and taken to the lab." Meeting her malicious gaze, I smiled. I've lived a whole life, yet I haven't made any progress. No wonder I was toyed with in my past life. The box rolled on the ground a few times, and the genius system fell out. Rolling to my feet, I crouched down to pick it up, carefully wiped it clean, and bound it according to the program. I am not the child my parents hoped for. When my mother was pregnant with me, she was at a critical point in her career. She and my father had already discussed and decided to have an abortion. However, during a checkup at the hospital, a relative who worked there hinted that the baby was a boy. After persuasion from my father and grandmother, my mother decided to keep the child. They carefully prepared a children's room and Ultraman for their future son. They even booked a postpartum care center, fearing they wouldn't be able to take good care of their son after his birth, but they were disappointed. In the end, it was me who was born, not the son they had been longing for. Lisa, Mom blames me for making her lose her career. Dad blames me for getting his hopes up for nothing, and Grandma keeps complaining about having to raise another financial burden. The adults in the family shake their heads at the sight of me. My birth was a mistake from the very beginning. When Mom was pregnant, Dad and Grandma assumed it was a boy, so they were busy taking care of her and somewhat neglected Lisa. From that moment on, she harbored a deep hatred for me. After I was born, with no love from my parents or grandparents, I naturally became her slave and plaything. When she first started bullying me, she was cautious, only daring to do it behind the adults' backs, afraid of being discovered. Later, after realizing my parents didn't care about me, she became increasingly harsh in her treatment. After bullying me, she would go and complain to our parents. Our parents always believed her and even followed her suggestions to punish me. The next day, Mom told me there was no money to buy me reference books, and they couldn't afford my tutoring fees either. She forced me into a relative's shady workshop, saying, "You're almost an adult, you can't just stay at home and live off your dad and me." But then, they immediately enrolled Lisa in a closed personality training class, attempting to interfere with the system's energy and prevent her from becoming a loser. Lisa lay sprawled on the sofa, rolling her eyes. "Why are you worrying so much? I'll marry into a wealthy family in the future, and you'll just have to wait to enjoy the good life." Her parents refused to give up and dragged her into the personality training class, but 2 weeks later, they brought back Lisa, who was crying her heart out. Lisa liked to show off, and some people couldn't stand it, so they mocked her. In the past, Lisa would have turned the tables and made the other person cry, but because she was bound to a useless system, Lisa became timid and didn't dare to fight back. The people who bullied her saw her as an easy target and went too far. Lisa was driven to despair and threatened to jump off a building, forcing the school to contact her parents. Unable to bear seeing their beloved daughter continue to suffer, her parents tearfully brought her home. However, they haven't given up on the idea of changing Lisa's personality. The parents hired a high-paid personality trainer to come to their home for one-on-one training with Lisa. They were full of anticipation. However, no matter what the trainer asked Lisa to do, she would manage to mess things up in ways that were beyond anyone's expectations. In the end, the trainer was even willing to refund all the fees, not wanting to continue teaching Lisa anymore. The trainer said bluntly that he was afraid that while teaching, he might also be infected by Lisa's incompetence and cowardice. When the trainer left, Lisa's eyes were sparkling, and she was overjoyed. From then on, she didn't have to do anything and lived a blissfully happy life. After all, she messed up everything her parents asked her to do. On several occasions, they even caused my parents to pay large compensations, completely depleting their pension savings. My parents had no choice but to give up on trying to change Lisa's personality. They set their sights on me. My parents took me out of the small workshop and brainwashed me every day. "It was your sister who gave the system to you. You must treat her well from now on. You need to understand, without your sister's sacrifice, you'd be a good-for-nothing right now. Swear that you'll be good to your sister for the rest of your life and never be an ungrateful person." No matter what my parents said, I agreed with a humble and obedient attitude. I know that if I show even a hint of rebellion, they will heartlessly send me back to that dark, sunless factory, cutting me off from the outside world. That way, even if I have a system, it won't be of much use to ensure that Lisa can live freely and carefree even if she turns out to be a good-for-nothing. My parents forced me into all kinds of tutoring and talent classes. My Knowledge is expanding, my skills are increasing, and my appearance and posture are getting better and better. Lisa watches me grow more beautiful day by day, her eyes burning with jealousy, and her words becoming increasingly sharp and bitter. One day, as soon as I got home from school, she ordered me to wash some fruit for her. After taking the fruit, Lisa said sourly, "Go ahead and study, after all. The money you earn in the future will all be mine." I lowered my head, a slow smile curling at the corner of my lips. Who made that rule? They might try to snatch my things, but do they think I won't run just because I have long legs? On the day of the college entrance exam, Lisa pulled the same old trick, complaining of a stomachache. My parents were busy taking her to the hospital, and no one remembered that I had my college entrance exam today. Lisa was being carried by Dad, and she turned back to give me a smug smile, as if to say, "See, even though you get good grades and are pretty, Mom, and Dad still like me the most." It would be a lie to say it didn't hurt, especially after the exam, when other students' parents greeted them with flowers and took them out to eat and celebrate. I came home to a house in complete silence. Mom and Dad are still at the hospital taking care of Lisa, and the fridge is empty, as if it had been deliberately cleared out. They are only Lisa's parents, only concerned about whether she has enough to eat or warm clothes to wear. Knock knock. "Rose, are you home?" The voice of my good friend Lena came through along with the knocking at the door. I opened the door, and the aroma of the food rushed eagerly into my nostrils. I couldn't help but swallow my saliva. "Are you hungry?" Lena handed me the food, urging me to eat quickly so I wouldn't starve. Lena is 3 years older than me and a bit of a troublemaker, but she's my good friend. My mom used to say she was a bad kid and wouldn't let me play with her, but in my past life, I was bound to a useless system and became timid and incompetent. It was she who always encouraged me, saying that human will can conquer all, and one day I would overcome the system's power. Only she, from beginning to end, chose me and never changed. The food was plentiful but not greasy, perfectly suited to my taste. In the nearly 18 years at the Lee family, I had never eaten such delicious meals. Lisa enjoys spicy food, but I cannot eat anything spicy. It gives me acne and stomachaches. But Mom never cooked a single meal without adding chili peppers. She said, "Your sister can handle spicy food, so why are you being so picky?" After a long wait, the college entrance exam results were released. I achieved my goal of becoming the top scorer in the province, yet the atmosphere at home was gloomy, because Lisa only scored 268 points. She is very angry, even though I was useless in my past life. I scored 600 points in the college entrance exam and barely got into University A, and at University A, I met my wealthy husband. Mom advises Lisa to retake the college entrance exam. "Lisa, you just underperformed this time. If you retake the exam, your score will definitely be higher than Rose's." Mom's expression is complicated. She doesn't understand why, despite her efforts to nurture Lisa in every way, she still can't amount to anything. Lisa refuses to listen to her mom's advice, insisting on not retaking the exam and instead wanting to attend the vocational school next to University A. The school is close by, so she can go to University A to meet the wealthy young men of City A and become a rich young mistress as soon as possible. Why bother reading this book? Are you looking for trouble? Unable to persuade Lisa, Mom twisted my ear and dragged me into her room. "Your sister can't just go to some lousy junior college." Mom's face was livid. "You're not going to college this year either. Tutor her, and next year, both of you sisters can go to a university together." Mom had Dad take me back to our hometown overnight, locked me in a room, and took away my phone and computer. When school leaders and admissions officers called me, Mom answered every time, smiling as she told them I was traveling and had left my phone at home. When top universities were competing for me, Mom set a condition: whichever school was willing to accept my sister as the one I would attend. Rose has liked her sister since she was little. This time, her sister didn't perform well in the college entrance exam, and even though Rose became the top scorer in the province, she wasn't happy. She kept hiding in her room and crying, which is why I had to let her go on a trip to relax. Lisa's qualifications were really poor. The admissions officers from the top universities hadn't met me, so they didn't know if I was worth the risk. In response to my mom's proposal, they beat around the bush and suggested meeting me first. After talking for a long time without getting the desired result, my mom deliberately said things to disgust the admissions officers, making them feel awkward and driving them out of the house. She declared that she didn't care about me attending their schools. My mom, furious, took Lisa and returned to our hometown. As soon as I entered the door, my mother started yelling, "How can you be so useless? You became the top scorer in the province, yet you couldn't even manage to get your sister into college along with you. What's the use of scoring so high? All right, just as we discussed before, you should focus on tutoring your Sister at home this year, you can go to college only when she does. My mother was determined not to let me attend college this year. Later, when the admissions officer called her, she directly hurled insults and even cursed the officer's parents. In the blink of an eye, it was time to fill out the college applications. Lisa walked into my room with a tablet, smugly shoving it right in front of my face. I'm going to college. She somehow managed to convince her mom and applied to the vocational college next to university. Sis, didn't mom want you to retake the exams and get into a better university next year? Isn't the school you applied to a bit not great? My words hit a nerve with Lisa. Normally, she would have gotten angry right away and made sarcastic remarks, but surprisingly, she laughed. Do you know what? No matter how well you study, can it be as important as marrying the right person? This school is close to university. Lisa touched her face. Are you still worried I won't get to meet him? So the plan was to get close to the moon by being near the water. But sister, you have no talent or virtue. Although you're incompetent and weak, you can't even be called obedient and sensible. What could a rich young man possibly see in you? Sis, can you give me the tablet so I can also fill out my application? I pleaded with her. Lisa clicked her tongue twice. No way, you're just an experiment subject. Whether you go to college or not makes no difference. Just enjoy the time you have now. Who knows when you'll be captured, with tubes inserted all over your body, unable to move a muscle. Sis, what are you talking about? She raised her hand to cover her mouth and chuckled. Nothing, you'll understand someday. Lisa left feeling quite pleased. The college application period has passed, and mom finally returned my phone and computer to me. She looked down on me and said with a condescending tone, anyway, you won't be able to go to college. Just focus on tutoring your sister. If she has a bright future, she won't treat you poorly. Can't I go to college? I never said that, nor did I agree to it. Back in the city, my mother ordered me to work and earn money. Your sister has many expenses for college. Do you just want to sit idle and eat away your savings? After telling me to work and earn money, my parents went on a trip with Lisa. Feeling at ease in my past life, influenced by the system, there were many things I couldn't do on my own, but I learned a lot. I found a one-on-one tutor. It cost $300 per hour, with 4 hours of lessons each day. After returning from the trip, my mother couldn't wait to give orders, telling me to send all the money I earned this month to her via WeChat. I sent my mom $1,800, saying, tutoring pays $15 an hour, and I teach for 4 hours a day. Looking at the amount she received, my mother pouted in dissatisfaction. With the genius system, you only make $60 a day from tutoring. I should have sent you to wash dishes at a restaurant. At least that would have earned you $3,000 a month. I obediently lowered my head and stayed silent. The night before Lisa left for college, I tirelessly packed her luggage. Mom bought Lisa expensive skincare products, cosmetics, and new clothes and shoes. Her luggage filled 4 suitcases and still wasn't all packed. As for my luggage, it didn't even fill a 24-inch suitcase. It's all filled with old clothes and other cheap stuff. Your sister is going to college, so she needs good quality things. We can't let outsiders laugh at us. You're renting off campus and working part-time. If your things are too nice, you might attract bad people. Mom is doing this for your own good. Mom said it with such righteousness, without a hint of guilt or hesitation. For the same destination, the train ticket Mom bought for me would take nearly 20 hours, while the one she bought for Lisa was a high-speed rail ticket that only took 8 hours. I left before Lisa, and Mom asked me to take all her luggage. Your sister is careless. Mom isn't at ease with her carrying the luggage. You're careful, so Mom trusts you. She pushed all the luggage to me, slammed the door shut, and gave me no chance to refuse. I looked at the 4 large, brand new suitcases at my feet, picked up my own worn-out one, and walked away. Downstairs, I encountered the difficult old lady who collects scrap. I told her there was trash in the hallway on the 24th floor. The old lady loves to take advantage. If she sees something and no one is around, she automatically assumes it's hers. Even if she can't win an argument later, she'll make a big fuss and demand money before she'll let it go. I didn't take the train. I bought a high-speed rail ticket myself. On the high-speed rail, I received a call from my mom. I placed the phone on the table and tapped to answer, even without putting it on speaker. I could hear my mom's hysterical yelling, "Are you out of your mind? I told you to take the luggage with you, and you pretended not to hear." I innocently let out an "ah," and said, "Mom, I did bring the luggage." Mom flew into a rage. "Are you still trying to argue? If I hadn't opened the door suddenly, your sister's luggage would have been snatched away by the troublemakers downstairs." The corner of my lips curled slightly. "Mom, don't you always say we should handle our own business?" I didn't dare to take my sister's luggage. After saying that, I hung Up the phone, TSK, what a pity, the luggage wasn't completely stolen, only 2 suitcases were taken before it was discovered. Upon arriving in City A, I booked a hotel, had a good night's sleep, and then went out to buy clothes and skincare products for myself. Most of the clothes I brought from home weren't suitable for university wear, and I still had my tutoring wages to spend, so there was no need to skimp on myself. After buying the necessary items, I carried my new luggage into University A. My mother wouldn't let me fill out the college application, hoping I wouldn't get into any university. Is that even possible, with my provincial top score in the college entrance exam? Did she really think that by locking me in the old house and taking away my phone and computer, no admissions officer could reach me? How adorably naive. Moreover, even before the college entrance exam results were announced, Mr. Jack, the admissions officer from University A, contacted me in advance. I anticipated what would happen later, explained the situation to Mr. Jack, signed the contract early, and asked him to keep it confidential and not inform admissions officers from other universities. At the time, Mr. Jack did not fully believe that my mother would prevent me from attending university, but the subsequent events proved to him that, fortunately, I had prepared in advance. Rose, Teacher Jack waved to me at the entrance of University A. You finally made it. I was so worried you wouldn't arrive on time that I couldn't sleep for several nights. Teacher Jack personally took me to the dormitory, introducing the scenery and history of University A along the way, and told me to contact him promptly if I encountered any difficulties. Teacher Jack, a lazy, magnetic male voice called out. I turned my head to look. A man in a gradient blue and white shirt and light-colored jeans slowly walked toward us from a side path. The brilliant sunlight filtered through the leaves, illuminating his exceptionally handsome features, his captivating peach blossom eyes, slightly upturned, inexplicably exuded a sense of charm. This man was none other than my husband from my past life, Harry, the wealthy yen master of City A. Teacher Jack, where are you heading? He lowered his gaze with a light chuckle, glancing at Teacher Jack and then at me. And who is this? Teacher Jack introduced me to him. Harry raised an eyebrow and said, Teacher Jack, don't you still have a meeting to attend? How about I take the junior back to the dorm? It's on my way. Teacher Jack clapped his hands, entrusted me to Harry, and hurriedly left. Harry took my suitcase and said, Let's go, Junior. I knew in my past life that he was no ordinary man. His so-called romantic and flirtatious nature was all an act put on for the Miller family's ill-intentioned members. As for marrying me, it was only to show them that I had no influential background and wasn't particularly clever, so they wouldn't worry about him marrying a wife who could offer support, allowing them to lower their guard. After seeing me to the building entrance, Harry left. It truly confirmed the saying, everything he did had a purpose today. I was sent just to make an appearance in front of Teacher Jack, remind him about the meeting, and do him a small favor. What's strange, though, is that we ended up running into each other every now and then afterward. Each time, he would find an excuse to chat with me for an hour or two, and I couldn't get rid of him. After classes officially started, I had to attend lectures every day, research for my startup, scout locations, contact people, and occasionally deal with Harry. I was so busy I barely had time to catch my breath, and I gradually forgot about Lisa, but she didn't forget about me. During the National Day holiday, Lisa came to University A to see me. You're so cunning, you actually kept it from me and our parents and applied for this university. We underestimated you. She said that as long as I agreed to one of her demands, she wouldn't tell our parents that I was studying at University A. Otherwise, she would have our parents come to University A to help me withdraw from school. I've already found out, Harry invited you to go on a trip with them, right? How are you so good at seducing people? It's been less than a month since school started, and you've already got him inviting you out on his own, Lisa said through gritted teeth. If she didn't need my help, she might have lunged at me and bitten me hard a few times. Go tell Harry to take me along when you go out, otherwise, I'll call Mom and Dad and have them pull you out of school. I shrugged indifferently. Does Lisa think that just because her parents are here, she can get me expelled? Has her brain been eaten by zombies? Lisa stomped her foot angrily, but just as she was about to burst into a tirade, her eyes suddenly lit up. By the way, Snow is still alive. You didn't know that, did you? She said with a sinister smile. If you don't listen to me, I'll have Mom beat Snow to death. You're not afraid of being expelled, but aren't you afraid of Snow dying? Snow is a stray dog I picked up from the streets and brought home. Like me, it's not liked by anyone and was abandoned, but it gave me countless warmth, supporting me through those dark years of being doubted and slandered. In my previous life, my sister, unable to accept the fact that I married into a wealthy family, secretly took Snow away and tortured him to death. When I arrived at the Scene: my sister was stuffing Snow's flesh into her mouth, grinning and asking if I wanted some too. She said at the time, "Snow's meat is very chewy, want a taste? After all, you raised him like your own child, it tastes really good." Yes, she clearly knew that I treated Snow like my own child, yet she still did such a thing. I slapped her at the time, and my parents and relatives all took her side, blaming me for turning against my sister over a dog, which they thought was completely unreasonable. My mother cried and scolded me, saying that she should have killed the dog when I first brought it home. In this life, when I was reborn, I just wanted to deal with the system quickly and take Snow away. After the lottery system, Lisa told me grimly that she had told her mother that Snow would affect her luck in the lottery, and her mother had already beaten Snow to death. What she said at the time was flawless, and I believed it. "What did you say? Snow isn't dead." Lisa raised her chin triumphantly. "Thank me, it only broke 2 legs." A sharp pain surged in my heart, and my legs felt weak. Snow was already in poor health, and with both legs broken, being abandoned in an unfamiliar place must have been so hard for it. Was it waiting for me to rescue it all along? Yet I never came. "I can let Harry take you out to play, but first, you must let Mom take Snow to the vet for treatment, and then hand it over to Lena. Tell them first, I'll have Mom let Snow out after we come." Back from playing, Lisa was unwilling. My face turned cold, and I turned to leave. "Then forget it. It's just a dog. If it dies, it dies." Lisa rushed up and grabbed me. "You can't leave. That's Snow, not just any random dog. It's been so good to you, and you're willing to let it die. Do you even have a conscience?" I shrugged. "No matter what, it's still just a dog. Could it be more important than my future? If you go with them and they take a liking to you, making you their girlfriend, wouldn't I be at a huge loss?" I pushed my sister away. "Don't even think about watching me make a fool of myself again." Lisa took out her phone. "Stop, you just agreed that if I get Mom to take Snow to the vet right now and hand him over to Lena, you'll let Harry take me out to have some fun." "I'm calling Mom right now. You stay put." As soon as the call connected, Lisa couldn't wait to give her mom instructions. Her mom tried to persuade her a few times, but Lisa yelled back each time, and eventually, her mom agreed to take Snow to the vet. "I'm done talking. Now you tell Harry." "I'll tell Harry as soon as Snow gets to Lena." I shook off Lisa's hand and walked away. As soon as Lena heard that Snow was still alive, she immediately put down her work and helped me pick up the dog. She just messaged me saying she picked up Snow, and Lisa immediately started frantically urging me to add her to the small group where Harry and the others hang out. As soon as she joined the group, Lisa started sending voice messages. "Hello everyone, I'm Rose's sister. I'd like to apologize on behalf of Rose first. Rose couldn't make it due to some matters and asked me to hang out with you all. I hope you'll take good care of me in the next few days." She then sent a few overly filtered photos, making cute expressions. No one in the group responded, so she called me and questioned, "Did you say something to them? Otherwise, why is no one talking?" Harry happened to be with me and, upon hearing her words, couldn't help but sneer. "So this is how you treat Rose in private, huh? And here she was just defending you, saying you're not a selfish person. Who are you? What gives you the right to speak here?" Harry laughed in disbelief. "What, am I, Harry, not even worthy of speaking to a country bumpkin like you?" Harry hadn't finished speaking when the other end hung up the phone with a sharp click. Lisa switched to WeChat and started yelling at me. "You were with Harry, why didn't you warn me? And why did you even hand him the phone? Are you just jealous of me? Now my perfect image is ruined. Are you happy?" I didn't pay her any attention, but Lisa does have some skills. I don't know what method she used, but she actually got close to Lily in the small group, and they're even flaunting their friendship on social media. But Lily is a wolf in sheep's clothing, all smiles and friendly to everyone in person, yet capable of stabbing people in the back with a cold sneer. If Lisa plays with her, she'll be devoured without a trace. However, it was just as I had hoped. Otherwise, wouldn't it have been pointless to add Lily to the group? Lisa got her wish and went on a trip with Harry and their little group. She went with great enthusiasm, but 7 days later, she returned crying and injured. She grabbed my arm at the library entrance, crying her eyes out with tears and snot. "Rose, why does no one praise me for being well-behaved and sensible? They all call me useless and incompetent. You must have done something right." She was being targeted by others, too, afraid to stand up to them, and only dared to take it out on me at home. But isn't that the essence of a useless system? In my previous life, I married into a wealthy family. My husband doted on me, and my in-laws were kind, but it was all a facade. In reality, Harry only saw me as a tool to use against my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law kept tormenting me until she realized I was truly timid and incompetent, and only then did she stop. Harry's mother-in-law is not his biological mother, she is his And she has her own biological son and wants to raise Harry to be incompetent so that her son can inherit the vast Miller family conglomerate. By being so obedient and sensible, marrying into the Miller family, I can help Harry maintain his facade, easing the suspicions of his mother-in-law and brother-in-law. It also allows his mother-in-law to breathe a sigh of relief, no longer worrying that Harry might secretly marry a wealthy heiress for support behind her back. Both sides thought I was very suitable to be the young mistress of the Miller family, which is why they showered me with affection in front of outsiders. With the status of the Miller family's young mistress, I gained financial and influential support, and it seemed I was about to overcome the system's power and change my weak and cowardly nature. However, just before success, I was killed by Lisa. Sister, what matters isn't what I did, but the fact that you couldn't change anything. Isn't that right? The color drained from my sister's face. What do you mean? I mean, sister, is the trash system any good? My sister ran away as if she were insane. My mother called to sever our mother-daughter relationship. You have no sisterly affection for your sister. From today on, we are no longer mother and daughter, severing the mother-daughter relationship. Yet she demands that I pay a large amount of alimony, $5 million annually. I gave you the genius system, and I only ask for $5 million in alimony each year. You should be grateful. I didn't deny it, and my mother took my silence as agreement. She was busy comforting Lisa and forgot to hang up the phone. Lisa, even if Rose has the smart star system and succeeds in entrepreneurship, she is destined to work like a beast of burden for us. Please cheer up and accept the treatment. Okay, seeing you like this breaks my heart. Mom hugged Lisa and sobbed. I had never heard her cry so sadly before. Mom never went to college, so she didn't know that one could start a business and make money in college. That's why she never contacted me during my university years. After graduating from university, I went abroad to pursue a PhD. Directly, they didn't know until I completed my PhD and returned to the country. When I received her WeChat message demanding that I pay $5 million in alimony on time, Lena found out about this and came to my house to make a scene, but my mother was unapologetic. Rose is my daughter. What's wrong with me asking her for $5 million a year? Even if I asked for $50 million, she would have to give it. Lena was so angry that she stomped her feet and rushed forward, wanting to hit her mother. She was stopped by someone. Rose just graduated from college, and you're already asking her for $5 million. Over all these years, have you ever given her even $10,000? Indeed, she hadn't. The clothes and shoes I wear are the ones Lisa didn't want. When I got sick or injured, my mother never took me to the hospital. She made me recover at home, saying it would boost my immune system. Even my tuition and living expenses for school were covered by the scholarships and financial aid I fought for, as well as the summer jobs I worked every vacation. Lena shouted out all the hardships I had endured over the years, and the neighbors began to look at my parents with doubt. Mom slammed the door shut with a bang. Lisa saw the interview on TV, found out about my successful business venture, and called me. Rose, give me $30 million a year, and I'll pretend I know nothing and won't tell Mom about your business success. You know how much trouble you'd be in if Mom found out. I hung up the phone with a laugh. After all this time, Lisa is still so childish, but Mom raised her for nothing and Lisa asks me for $30 million every year. But it's not for her and Mom. She has never thought about Mom's well-being. What would Mom feel if she knew that the eldest daughter she has always doted on and loved actually has such thoughts? Go ahead and say it. Do you think, at this point, you can still do anything to me? Lisa doesn't think that I'm still the same as before, that with just one look from Mom, I'd eagerly go over and try to win her favor, only to be met with coldness. Does she? Lisa went to find the relatives who exploited me the most in my past life and had them come to me for help. Rose is now a big entrepreneur. If you go to her, not only will you have no worries about work, but you'll also get a car and a house. You'll be set for life. Upon hearing this, the parasitic relatives eagerly came, but they're not my relatives, so why should I care? The parasitic relatives came to the company looking for me, but before they even reached the lobby, security escorted them away. Lisa saw that they didn't let me suffer a loss and flew into a rage. The parasitic relatives were driven away by the security guards, feeling humiliated. After Lisa's remarks, they ended up fighting with her. Lisa was worried that having too many people would ruin the plan, so she gathered quite a few parasitic relatives. Now they outnumber and overpower others. Lisa was slapped on the left cheek and kicked hard on the right. In just a few moments, she collapsed to the ground, losing control of her bladder. After the blood-sucking relatives beat someone up and left without a trace, my mother sent Lisa to the hospital but didn't dare to confront the relatives. Instead, she called and sent emails to insult me. I blocked them one by one. Honestly, watching them lose their composure is quite amusing. I just didn't expect Lisa to take such an unconventional approach. Rose, that lunatic Lisa went to the research institute to report that you have a system, claiming you got into University A and achieved entrepreneurial success through illegal means. Lena sent me a furious WeChat message. I don't know if Lisa is just foolish or if she's completely throwing caution to the wind. She reported that I have a system. Doesn't she have one herself? What's more, I have a backup plan. Does she have one? She just impulsively went to the research institute to report me. How amusing. Just after finishing the conversation with Lena, I received an email from Lisa on my phone. Blocking my phone and WeChat won't help. I'm telling you, we might as well both go down together. Seeing this email, I knew that Lisa didn't want to die. She was even afraid of death. If she really wanted to end it with me, she wouldn't have specifically sent me an email when she does something bad. She usually does it quietly, waiting to see my miserable outcome before revealing her true colors and mocking me. This is what her mother taught her. Never jump to conclusions until the very end. Is she sending me an email so urgently now just to make me anxious? From the moment I was reborn, I had anticipated this moment when Lisa would be driven to desperate measures. It wasn't until this moment that I truly understood that, even in this second life, Lisa hasn't made any progress at all. No wonder in her previous life, despite having a genius system, she still made a complete mess of her life. However, Lisa is destined to fail. She is so crazy that no one believes what she says. I just didn't expect that Mom would love my sister so much to fulfill my sister's wish. She even went so far as to report me. Researcher, if you take Rose for research, you will definitely get unexpected results. My mother confidently told the institute. I stood by, feeling neither sorrow nor joy. All the grief had been exhausted during my death in the previous life and the extraction of the system in this one. You must believe me, I was the one who gave her the system, so I know it best. Seeing the researcher standing still, the mother's expression gradually turned frantic. I smiled. Why doesn't she understand? I started my business in my freshman year, so why did Lisa only see my interview after I graduated? Why did the parasitic relatives give up so easily when they caused trouble at my company? Didn't they call the police even today? Why is it that the researcher who was so obsessed with Lisa in the previous life remains indifferent upon hearing about the system now? No, it's not because they didn't report it to the police, nor is it because the researcher has no interest in the system. Rather, with the support of the state, the research institute has long been purged by me. Those deranged maniacs who chased after me and wanted to study me in the previous life have all been sent to where they belong, now in the research institute. Everyone is my people. Why does the country give me so much power? Of course, it's because I majored in chemical pharmaceuticals for both my bachelor's and doctoral degrees. With the experience from my past life and the system's support, I quickly developed several drugs that the country urgently needed. With me, diplomats no longer have to negotiate humbly with foreign countries for those medications. After I completed my PhD, the condition for my return to the country was to have the state assist in ensuring my parents would not disturb me, so even if they don't report me to the research institute, they will eventually be controlled by the state. They will be made to leave their hometown and live in some unfamiliar, remote small town. I never intended to control them personally, but they repeatedly made things difficult for me. Now, I can only spend the rest of my life in a confined place. Even the insults they hurled at me cannot appear online. No matter how foolish they are, they now understand that behind me stands the nation. My father rarely calls me, and his voice was softer than I had ever heard before. Rose, your mom and Lisa have already realized their mistakes, and you haven't been harmed much. Just forgive them. I haven't been harmed much. The pain isn't on him, so of course he can say such things lightly. Dad, isn't life good enough now? You used to always say that to support my education. You worked so hard every day that it wore you down. Now you don't have to work anymore, and you have food and drink. You should be happy and content. It was me, your daughter, who brought you this ideal life. My father had a stroke out of anger, and screams from medical staff could be heard on the other end. I leisurely put down my phone. TSK, having a stroke just like that, so fragile under pressure. My father had a stroke, and my mother was so devastated that she developed dementia and could no longer take care of herself. If she had been completely demented and unaware, it might have been easier, but fate was cruel to her. She would have 1 or 2 hours of lucidity each day, during which she would see herself incontinent and disheveled. She, who had always valued her self-image, simply couldn't accept herself in that state. Later, the country held a military parade. I stood on the city tower with the leader. My parents and sister saw me on television and told the officer supervising them that I was their daughter, but no one believed them, including the caregivers looking after them, because the state intervened. I am an orphan. All the previous records have been encrypted, and no one can access them. Lisa couldn't accept it. In this new life, I am still thriving, while she has gained nothing, not even as much as in her previous life. She became completely deranged, not even recognizing her own parents. She was unwilling to accept it. Why was it that no matter what system I obtained, I could always live so well? She ended up literally angering herself to death. When she died, her eyes were wide open, and the caregiver tried to close them but couldn't no matter how hard they tried. I wanted to tell her that although external things may have great power, human potential is limitless. As long as we have faith in our hearts and take action, one day, man will conquer nature. After hearing the second story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My roommate is plain looking and stout, but she has a beautiful, captivating singing voice. Upon hearing that the school board chairman's son had declared himself a voice lover and was organizing a masked singing contest to find a girl with a sweet voice, she became eager to participate. When Helen asked me to help her make a mask, I tried to persuade her. These rich kids are just looking for entertainment. They don't really care about anything but looks. If you win first place, who knows how he might take his anger out on you. She was finally persuaded by me to give up participating in the singing contest, but later, a girl with an ordinary appearance actually won first place in the singing contest, and the school director's son kept his promise and married her with great ceremony. Helen went completely insane. After using a craft knife to slash my face, she drowned me in the squat toilet. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at the day of the singing event. This time, I didn't stop Helen from singing with a mask on. Ivy, I remember you mentioned before that you're into cosplay and make a lot of props. Could you help me make a mask, preferably a white one, with a lace crown on top and tassels at the bottom? Daniel is hosting a masked singing contest tonight. The winner will not only receive generous prizes but also get to marry him. He said he's a sucker for a good voice. As long as the voice is pleasant, nothing else matters. Ivy, I want to give it a try. Who knows, maybe I'm the sweet voice girl he's been looking for. As Helen spoke, a blush spread across her dark-skinned face, and she shyly lowered her head. The familiar voice and words echoed once more, and it felt as if the gurgling sound of being submerged in water could still be heard in her ears. I was stunned for a long time, blinking my eyes before realizing I had been reborn. Seeing that I hadn't responded for a while, Helen grew somewhat displeased. She impatiently furrowed her messy eyebrows and suddenly raised her hand to hit me hard. Hey, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Are you deaf? That slap left my arm burning with pain, but I didn't pay it any mind and instead smiled. Helen noticed something off about my attitude, withdrew her hand slightly, and furrowed her brows even more. What are you laughing at? Are you crazy? Hurry up. Are you going to do it or not? If not, I'll find someone else. The way she said it made it sound as if she was entrusting someone with a troublesome task, yet it was as if the other person had taken some huge advantage of her. But I didn't refuse. Instead, I bent down, rummaged through the materials box for the lace fabric, and curled the corner of my mouth. I'll do it. Of course, I'll help you with it. My fingers flew as the scissors cut through the lace, the hot glue gun sizzling as it oozed white adhesive. Pearls and silver thread quickly took shape on the cardboard. In just half an hour, the mask had already taken shape. The white lace crown was layered and adorned with rhinestones that sparkled finely in the sunlight. The dangling tassels, strung with pearls and silver bells, emitted crisp, tinkling sounds at the slightest touch. Done. I handed the mask to her. Helen took the mask and carefully examined it, pointing out a few issues with the threads and tassels that needed reworking. Look at the stitching. It's off by a millimeter. It would be so embarrassing if someone noticed it on stage. And this tassel, it's one bead shorter. It definitely won't swing symmetrically. Only when I finally fixed the mask to the point where no flaws could be found did she take it back with satisfaction and try it on in front of the mirror. Just about passable, I said with a smile. I want to congratulate you in advance, Helen. Your voice is so pleasant. You'll definitely take first place. Helen lifted her chin. Of course. Just look at whose voice it is. After saying that, as if suddenly remembering something, her expression changed slightly, and she asked casually, Ivy, what about you? Your voice is completely different from mine, but it's still quite pleasant. Don't you want to join the singing event? I shook my head, brushing it off. I have a child groom, and my family is not short of money. Helen finally relaxed, let out a long sigh, glanced at me with a hint of jealousy, and hurried away as if her pride had been hurt. I won't talk to you anymore. I need to go get ready and change for the stage. I nodded, smiling as I watched Helen walk away. In this life, I will fully respect Helen's personal destiny and let go of the urge to help others. I want to see for myself what kind of brilliant life Helen will have. Helen is unattractive in appearance, with a peculiar look and a robust build, but she possesses a melodious and captivating singing voice. She has always believed that with this beautiful voice, she can find a wealthy second-generation partner, marry into a rich family, and reached the peak of her life. For this, she once went so far as to date 88 boyfriends online at once, having masked video calls with them every day, singing to coax each one into becoming an embryo. These boyfriends of Helen soon became utterly devoted to her, worshipping her like a deity through the screen. Some scrimped and saved to buy her cosmetics and handbags, some stayed up late writing hundreds of love poems, and others used her recordings as lullabies, saying they dreamed of her every night. But all of this turned to dust when Helen took off her mask and met them in person. Before taking off her hood, Helen insisted that while she wasn't drop-dead gorgeous, she was at least passable looking. She truly believed this herself. Little did she know the reality would be so utterly horrifying. Some were so outraged that they beat her up while retching, and others demanded she pay compensation for emotional distress. There are only a few who don't mind Helen's true appearance, but Helen finds them not wealthy enough. I once advised Helen not to engage in such wicked deeds, but she always does as she pleases. After this incident was exposed, I originally thought Helen would learn her lesson and behave honestly. The next day, she excitedly told me that she was going to marry into a wealthy family. I was shocked and pressed for more details, only to find out that Daniel claimed to be a voice enthusiast whose biggest dream was to marry someone with a pleasant voice, regardless of their appearance. If I don't like the voice, I'll reject them outright. To that end, he decided to host a mass singing competition, with the winner being the one he would marry. Daniel is the son of a school board member, his family is wealthy, and he meets Helen's standards for a wealthy family. In her previous life, upon hearing this news, Helen couldn't wait to attend the singing competition. She firmly believed that her voice was unmatched and that it would make Daniel fall in love with her at first listen, making him obedient to her every word. Hearing Helen say this, I quickly tried to persuade her these wealthy heirs are just bored and looking for fun. They would never truly not care about looks. If you were to take first place, who knows how he would take his anger out on you. Daniel has a terrible reputation for being obsessed with beauty, which is almost common knowledge. He loves making female companions compete in looks at parties. The winner gets luxury items he casually gives away, while the losers are publicly mocked and teased like dogs by him and his friends. Countless girls have fallen into depression because of this behavior. How could such a person not care about looks? Besides, I've never heard that Daniel is a voice enthusiast. His sudden behavior is unusual. There must be something fishy going on. After hearing my advice, Helen hesitated for a long time but ultimately decided not to go. But later, a girl with an ordinary appearance actually won first place in the singing competition, and Daniel kept his promise, becoming her boyfriend and publicly showing off their affection every day. Expensive luxury gifts kept coming. Helen went crazy instantly. It's all your fault. If you hadn't stopped me, I would be Daniel's girlfriend now. You're just jealous. You don't want me to be happy. She took me by surprise, first using a utility knife to slash my face before I could react from the excruciating pain. She shoved me down and began wildly whipping me with a clothes hanger. In the end, having lost all ability to resist, she drowned me in the squat toilet, and I died in a very undignified manner. Fortunately, heaven gave me another chance to start over. I won't be overly compassionate again. I didn't want to go to Daniel's mass singing event. However, my other roommate heard that Helen was going to attend and dragged me by the arm straight to the auditorium. The auditorium was already packed with people, and the neon lights were dazzling. My roommate pulled me to squeeze to the front row, and as soon as we stood still, I heard the host announce the next act. Next up, contestant number 17, Helen. The spotlight shone toward the backstage entrance, and Helen's figure slowly emerged. She was wearing that white princess dress, with a lace crown glowing softly under the lights, and tassels hanging from her shoulders, swaying gently with each step. The originally robust figure appeared slender under the effect of the corset. The moment Helen spoke, the noisy auditorium immediately fell silent. Her voice was like a honey-soaked evening breeze, carrying the moonlight as it flowed through everyone's ears. She was singing an old song, the melody of which was originally somewhat somber, but after being moistened by Helen's voice, it unexpectedly took on a lingering charm that seemed to hang in the air. Even the accompanying piano music appeared to serve as her backdrop. When the last note faded away, the auditorium remained silent for a full 3 seconds before erupting into thunderous applause. Before the applause had even died down, Daniel suddenly stood up from the judges' table, dressed in a high-end white shirt, his lips curved in his usual nonchalant smile, yet his gaze was firmly fixed on the figure on stage wearing a lace mask. No need to compare. Daniel's voice echoed through the auditorium via the microphone, instantly silencing the noise. The championship is definitely going to number 17. The audience fell into a dead silence at first, then erupted into an uproar. Daniel, however, seemed not to hear and walked straight toward the stage. The sound of leather shoes stepping on the floor was particularly clear as he stopped in front of Helen, tilting his head slightly to examine the lace crown. "Take it off and let me see." Helen's shoulders visibly stiffened. "Didn't Mr. Daniel say he would only listen to the voice?" She didn't move, only retorted through the mask, her voice muffled by the fabric. Daniel smirked. "That's what I said, but shouldn't I at least get to see my future wife, or are you planning to wear that mask for the rest of our lives?" Hearing Daniel's words, Helen trembled with excitement, as if she could already see the day she married into a wealthy family. She almost couldn't wait to tear off the mask. The air in the room instantly froze. First, a short, sharp gasp came from the front row, as if someone had been pricked by a needle. Immediately, whispers spread like a tide, growing louder and eventually turning into undisguised discussions. "Oh my, the contrast is just too stark, isn't it? Daniel isn't for it. No wonder he wears a mask. I wouldn't dare show my face either if I were him. Looks so weird, but the voice is so sweet." Lip syncing, right? Blur the creepy image. Someone made an exaggerated, horrified expression at their companion, secretly pointing a finger toward the stage. A few well-dressed girls in the back row even covered their mouths and laughed out loud. The excitement on Helen's face froze, and beads of cold sweat trickled down her forehead. She looked up at Daniel with fear and unease, almost cautiously. Daniel took a step back, his gaze dark and unreadable as he watched her, but to everyone's surprise, Daniel suddenly took 2 steps forward, raised his hand, and tucked the stray strands of Helen's hair behind her ear, which was dotted with pockmarks. His movements were natural and intimate, and when his fingertips brushed past her earlobe, Helen flinched as if scalded. Daniel picked up the lace mask from the floor and gently placed it back on her head, carefully tying the strings. "I was too abrupt just now. Did I startle you?" He raised his voice to the audience, speaking even louder than when he had announced the winner. "Let me introduce, this is Helen, my girlfriend." After a deathly silence in the audience, an even more intense commotion erupted than before. Some were shocked, some were confused, and others even wore expressions of amusement, but Daniel acted as if he didn't notice, simply raising his hand to hold Helen's. Helen was led by him toward the backstage, her steps unsteady as if she were walking on cotton. "How bizarre. Could it really be that I was wrong, and Daniel is actually completely fine? My intuition tells me it's not that simple. This matter won't end so easily." I didn't see Helen again for the entire week after that, until Monday morning. I rushed back to school from home for the 8 a.m. class, which was when my frustration was at its peak. As I dragged my suitcase and was about to enter the dormitory building, an outrageously flashy purple supercar suddenly zoomed past me, missing me by just a few centimeters. Then, it made a sharp drift and turned to face me, the screeching sound of tires tearing through the morning quiet, drawing the attention of passing students. My face darkened. "Psycho, I should have asked Dad to buy out this school." The sports car screeched to a halt in front of the building, its doors swinging upward like wings, and Helen stepped out from the passenger seat. I looked up and almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was styled in big waves, she was wearing the latest haute couture from the runway, and she was carrying a limited edition handbag. Expensive jewelry adorned her neck, wrists, and ears. Her face was also made up with a thick layer of foundation, though it still didn't help much. The sports car's engine purred softly as Daniel rolled down the window. Helen immediately approached with a playful laugh. The two of them shared an intimate and passionate moment in front of everyone. Finally, Helen spoke in a coquettish tone. "Come pick me up early tonight." Daniel nodded with a smile. "I'll bring you your favorite milk tea when the time comes." The onlooking classmates erupted in an uproar, whispering and discussing among themselves. Helen wore a triumphant smile as she spotted me accurately in the crowd. "Ivy, it's really all thanks to the mask you made for me that I got together with Daniel. You have no idea how obsessed he is with me. He kept wanting me over and over, and the clothes, jewelry, and bags, he gave me so many I can't even keep track. He even took me to that high-end revolving restaurant downtown, you know, the kind of place where regular people have to book 6 months in advance." I nodded. "I know, that restaurant is actually my family's." Helen's face stiffened, barely able to maintain her composure. After a while, she deliberately moved the ring on her finger closer to my eyes. "Daniel also said he'll propose to me after I graduate, and I'll invite you to be my bridesmaid then." The murmurs around grew louder, some sighed with envy, while others remarked sourly, "I never expected this." Helen's gaze lingered on my face, as if waiting for my admiration or jealousy. "Class is about to start, and I'm a bit impatient, so I respond dryly, 'Oh, wish you happiness then.'" The smug look on Helen's face instantly freezes, as if she didn't expect me to react this way. She pauses for a moment, then leans in closer. shaking the ring even more vigorously. Is that all you've got to say, Ivy? If you had participated back then, Daniel and I wouldn't have stood a chance. Yeah, that's great. I cut her off, my gaze shifting over her shoulder toward the school building. Class is about to start. I'm heading out first. Helen was instantly furious, but could only watch helplessly as I walked away. From that day on, Helen started frequently leaving early, returning late, and even skipping classes. Later on, she was even absent for several days in a row. The counselor asked me about the situation, and I answered honestly, "Oh, you mean Helen, she's dating Daniel now." Hearing it was related to Daniel, the counselor also gave up on the idea of intervening, only reminding me not to follow Helen's example. I nodded, completely unconcerned. With Helen gone, we actually felt more relaxed and comfortable, able to enjoy the air conditioning at a normal temperature in the dormitory, even when the temperature reached 39 degrees Celsius. She would never turn on the air conditioner, claiming she wasn't hot whenever asked. Once someone else turned it on, she would rush to set the temperature to 16 degrees Celsius, preferring to wear a thick coat rather than adjust it higher. When it came time to split the electricity bill, she had the audacity to say she never turned it on herself and refused to pay her share. She especially enjoyed making loud noises while we were trying to sleep, eating stinky tofu, leek dumplings, and fermented herring. The takeout boxes and trash aren't thrown away after eating, they're just left there to rot and stink. With Helen gone, we can finally live a normal dorm life. Unfortunately, this good life didn't last long before Helen called me on my phone. At that time, I was in the middle of something, and shortly after hanging up, Helen called again. I had no choice but to answer helplessly. "What's wrong?" Helen on the other end of the line sounded miserable and terrified. "Ivy, come quickly, Daniel doesn't want me anymore." "Woo-woo, you were right, I should have listened to you and not been so delusional." Helen's sobs, thick with a nasal tone, squeezed out intermittently from the receiver, accompanied by the sharp sound of a glass shattering in the background. "He just brought a woman back to the apartment we used to live in, saying I'm taking up space and getting in the way. He also said all those gifts were just bought on a whim, to humor me. The necklace was a knockoff, and that cup of milk tea was just leftover from what he bought for a beggar on the street." "Ivy, come quickly, I don't want to live anymore." I picked at my fingers. "I'm in the middle of something, I can't go." The crying on the other end of the line suddenly grew louder, filled with hysterical urgency and impatience. "I don't care, you come here right now, immediately, right away. If you don't come, I'll jump from here. When the police ask, I'll say you stood by and did nothing to save me." Helen's urgent request for me to come over actually piqued my interest a bit. After all, the hardest thing about her is her mouth. Even if she's already spent all her living expenses for the month, just to save face and avoid being looked down on, she'd even take out a loan. How could Helen make such a big fuss about complaining to me and telling me how miserable she was? I curled my lips into a smile and hurried over to the address Helen had given me. The navigation finally ended at a private room in a certain club. I raised an eyebrow. "Is this the kind of place to break up? And you can't even die if you jump from here." Helen is still sending me text messages urging me, "Have you arrived? Ivy, if you're here, come in quickly. Where are you? If you don't come soon, I'm really going to be bullied to death by them. Daniel brought so many people, and they were all laughing at me. One moment she said she was going to jump. The next she said he brought a lot of people to mock her. It's really incoherent. Like the left and right brain are fighting each other." After sending a text to a certain number, I pushed open the door of the private room. It was pitch black inside, with no lights on, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. "Helen," I called out, and my voice hit the wall, bouncing back with a hollow echo. No one answered. I had just taken 2 steps forward when my ankle suddenly got caught on something. My balance faltered, and I stumbled forward. My elbow hit the edge of the coffee table, the pain making me gasp. Before I could even get up, I was tightly bound with rough hemp rope, the force so strong it felt like it was cutting into my bones. Seeing that I was no longer able to resist, with a snap, the lights in the private room suddenly turned on. The blinding light made it hard to keep my eyes open. I squinted for a while to adjust before I could finally see the scene in front of me. Daniel sat right in the center of the sofa, a cigarette pinched between his fingers, his face full of greed and lewdness. Meanwhile, Helen stood beside him, not a trace of the misery from the phone call left on her face. Instead, a tense yet triumphant smile played on her lips, and she clutched a half-wound hemp rope in her hand. "Ivy, don't blame me." Helen spoke first, her voice trembling yet filled with a desperate resolve. "Brother Daniel said he wants to break up with me. I can't live without him. Brother Daniel said he has a bit of a thing for you. I think, as long as I give you to him, he might change his mind." As she spoke, she moved a little closer to Daniel, as if seeking his approval or trying to bolster her own courage. Look, you come from a good family, and so does Daniel. Why not just be together? I don't mind sharing him. It's better for brother Daniel to be with you than with those sketchy women, right? I stared at Helen, feeling nothing but pity and amusement for her, to keep someone who clearly doesn't love her. She could actually come up with such a despicable plan, using her roommate as a bargaining chip. She was even willing to help him cheat. Daniel remained silent, just casting that slimy gaze over me. As soon as Helen finished speaking, he suddenly let out a low chuckle, the sound dripping with undisguised frivolity, and reached out to pinch my chin. She's not wrong, Lynn Ivy, though your temper is nothing to write home about. Your face is passable. It would be an honor for you to spend a night with me. Don't worry. I won't treat you poorly. You can become one of my lovers. When the time comes, his fingers were icy cold, reeking of cigarette smoke, and the touch was utterly repulsive. I dodged abruptly, and Daniel's hand missed its mark. The smile on his face instantly faded, his eyes darkening with a hint of menace. What? Still trying to act all high and mighty, brother Daniel? Look at her. Helen fanned the flames from the side, her voice tinged with a fawning humility. That's just how she is. Always thinking she's better than everyone else. Don't take it too heart. If you like, I'll help you hold her down. As she spoke, she moved to grab my arm but was pushed away by Daniel. Get out of the way, don't interfere. Helen staggered back 2 steps, a flicker of grievance flashing in her eyes, yet she still bit her lip, not daring to speak, only looking at Daniel with an almost pleading gaze, as if saying, see, I'm listening to you, please don't break up. Daniel's patience seemed to have run out. His eyes darkened as he lunged at me, his alcohol-tinged hand reaching straight for my collar. Helen just kept repeating, Ivy, just give in, it's better for everyone. I clenched my fist and was about to kick his knee with all my might when the compartment door was suddenly slammed open with a bang. Several men in black suits rushed in, swiftly pinning Daniel down firmly. Leading them was my father's special assistant, Uncle Bob, whose face was ashen, and his eyes turned icy cold when he saw the rope marks on my wrist. Daniel, pinned to the ground, was still struggling and cursing angrily. Do you know who I am? How dare you mess with me? Believe it or not, I can get your boss fired tomorrow. He glanced at Uncle Bob, and seeing him dressed in an ordinary suit, he looked even more disdainful, putting on airs in front of me. Uncle Bob ignored him and just gave a slight bow to me. Are you all right, miss? Daniel sneered. What, miss? Are you putting on a show? Lynn Ivy is just an ordinary student. Don't try to fool me. I've never heard of any damn Lincoln family. I walked up to Daniel, looking down at him from above. Haven't you heard of the Lincoln family? No wonder. The James family is nothing but a tiny insect we can crush at any moment in our eyes. When your father met mine, he bowed even lower than you are now. The LA group, which your father begged to collaborate with last week, is our subsidiary. My father put me in charge of the approval. Daniel's pupils contracted sharply, his previous arrogance instantly replaced by terror. His lips trembled, and he was utterly petrified. The LA group, his face turned deathly pale, and cold sweat beaded on his forehead, trickling down his cheeks. The LA group is notoriously known in the industry as a financial giant. Last week, in order to secure the deal, James's father took him to 7 dinner meetings, only to be left waiting in the reception room until late at night each time, and in the end, they didn't even get to meet the vice president from LA. He knew all about these things, but it never crossed his mind that the unattainable figure his father couldn't reach even on tiptoe was actually part of the Lincoln family's business. You, his finger pointed at me, trembling like a leaf in the autumn wind. Miss Lynn. Daniel suddenly fell to his knees with a thud, his knees hitting the floor with a dull thump. The aggression he had shown earlier, when restrained by the bodyguards, was completely gone, replaced by incoherent pleas for mercy. I was wrong. I was truly wrong. I was blind and ignorant. Please be magnanimous. Don't hold it against me. He tried to crawl toward me but was stopped by the bodyguards, so he just kept kowtowing in my direction, his forehead quickly turning red. If my father finds out, he'll kill me. Please, miss, let me go this once. I'll do anything for you, even be your servant. Helen, standing nearby, was completely stunned, her mouth agape for a long time, her face even paler than Daniel's, but at the same time, there was a deep-seated jealousy and unwillingness hidden in her eyes. I idly picked at my fingers, feeling somewhat bored. After being reborn, I never sought my father's help for revenge, just to see what would ultimately happen to Helen. I didn't expect this fool to give me a surprise, actually capable of doing such a thing. I originally intended to hand them all over to Uncle Bob for punishment, but seeing the red mark on Daniel's forehead and glancing at Helen's jealous and resentful expression, I suddenly recalled the rumors I had heard about Daniel. If that were true, Helen would. Thinking of this, I smiled. It would be such a pity if the show ended just like that. I suddenly came up with a great idea. Uncle Bob, I raised my hand to stop my assistant, who was about to speak, my tone lazy. Untie him. Daniel froze, his kowtowing motion halting as he looked at me in disbelief. When the bodyguard released him, he remained in a kneeling position, his knees leaving creases on the carpet. You're really letting me go? His voice trembled, his eyes filled with doubt and surprise. I gave a warm smile. Of course, you and Helen just made a momentary mistake. We're all classmates, so let's just let this go. The astonishment in Daniel's eyes gradually filled with an unbelievable light. A few seconds later, he suddenly threw himself down, his forehead hitting the carpet with a heavy thud. Teach, thank you. Thank you for your generosity. I won't dare to do it again. Seeing Helen still standing there in a daze, he turned his head sharply and glared at her, his voice filled with urgency. What are you just standing there for? Hurry and kowtow to the young lady. Helen was startled by his shout, as if jolted awake from a dream. Her knees went weak, and she followed suit by kneeling, her movements so frantic she nearly tripped over herself. Her nails dug deeply into her palms as she suppressed the unwillingness in her eyes, reluctantly offering me an apology. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth. I paid no mind to her attitude and left the private room with Uncle Bob. Next, all we have to do is wait. The show is about to begin. Sure enough, a month later, while I was in the dorm eating watermelon and binge-watching a show, Helen suddenly stormed in furiously. The dorm door was kicked open with a bang, the door panel hitting the wall and bouncing back. Helen stood at the door, her chest heaving violently. The foundation on her face was streaked, and her once carefully styled curls were now a messy tangle clinging to her dark cheeks, her eyes blazing with fury. Her originally white dress was covered in black coffee stains, as if someone had poured it over her head. Weren't you planning to move out? Why did you come back? Helen didn't answer me. Instead, she began frantically smashing things like a madwoman, although all the things that fell were just worthless little items, like books, cups, and such. Damn it, damn it, damn it, you bitch. How am I not as good as her? Why? Go die, go die, go die, Daniel. Even splashed coffee on me for her. Why, go die, you bitch. How dare you steal my man? Over there, she was throwing a huge tantrum, while I calmly took a bite of watermelon. I had heard about Helen's story a long time ago. After the incident in the private room that day, Helen and Daniel went through a major crisis together, saw each other in a disheveled state, and their feelings quickly deepened. They soon fell into a passionate romance, sticking together all day, with a bond as strong as gold. It was as if Daniel had suddenly become a different person. He no longer acted like a young master around Helen and would even wait for her downstairs at the girls' dormitory with breakfast. Helen also toned down her vanity, speaking more softly, constantly calling him Brother Daniel, with an infatuation in her eyes that she couldn't hide. Nourished by love, Helen quickly transformed, becoming much more confident and no longer doing bizarre things. But the good times didn't last long. A woman with a more captivating voice and a more striking appearance than Helen showed up. The moment Daniel saw the other person, he became utterly infatuated, as if he had lost his soul. He was busy sending flowers and going on dates, completely ignoring Helen as if she were air. No matter how humbly she pleaded, it was all in vain. Today, it got even worse. Helen knelt on the ground, begging to get back together. But Daniel found her a nuisance and splashed coffee on her. Helen is almost going crazy. After enjoying her madness for a while, I finally spoke up to comfort her. Helen, don't be angry. Maybe there's something special about that person that caught Daniel's attention. Once he gets tired of it, he'll come back to you. Upon hearing this, Helen became even angrier. Ugh, what's so special about that wretched woman? She's not even as good looking as I am. What on earth does Daniel see in her? I pretended to hesitate. Well, there's actually a rumor about Daniel that might explain his behavior. I'm not sure if I should say it, though. Helen's ears perked up instantly, and she looked extremely eager. What's the matter? Just say it. I took another bite of watermelon. Actually, it's just a rumor. The reason Daniel is like this is because he has a mental illness. What's it called specifically? I think it's called White Knight Syndrome. I smacked my lips and spat the watermelon seeds into the trash can. I just enjoy saving people who seem to be in a bad state, like a knight saving a princess, and I get a sense of satisfaction from it. That's why he's dating you, Helen, because you lack an appearance, and he enjoys the feeling of being your savior. That's why he shifted his affection when he met that girl who looks even more difficult to judge. The news about Daniel having a White Knight syndrome was leaked by his so-called friends. It is said that before Helen, he had saved several other girls, including those from impoverished families, those with congenital deficiencies, and those with below-average looks. However, all these girls were eventually abandoned. Some, like Helen, encountered even more unfortunate competitors, and some were simply because Daniel got bored. Without exception, they all developed severe psychological disorders after the breakup, and some even chose to end their own lives. However, because the James family cleaned up Daniel's mess and suppressed the news, it didn't cause much of a stir. But it's rather ironic, despite having this condition, it doesn't stop Daniel from playing the savior while also indulging in a life of debauchery and lust, saying they love someone the most, but the next second they can fool around with other women. So this is what they call human-machine separation. After hearing what I said, Helen's face turned pale and then flushed, as if she had been slapped hard twice. So it's my fault for going to great lengths to look better. That bitch is just a bit uglier than me. Is Daniel really that desperate? Helen blurted out, then suddenly realized something. Wait, if you say Daniel likes playing the savior, does that mean if I appear even more miserable than that girl, he'll change his mind and come back to me? Helen's eyes suddenly lit up, as if she had grasped a lifeline, her fingers unconsciously twisting the hem of her clothes. Yes, that's it. If he likes saving those who are more miserable, then I'll be even more miserable. I'll need him more than anyone else. She suddenly stood up, the chair legs scraping the floor with a piercing sound. The frustration on her face instantly replaced by a strange excitement. I smiled without saying a word. Yes, I deliberately said those things to provoke Helen. Seeing that the goal had been achieved, there was nothing more to say. As Helen spoke, her eyes grew brighter, as if she had found the key to breaking the deadlock. She grabbed her bag and the fruit knife that had stabbed me in a past life and rushed out. I took the last bite of watermelon and leisurely followed along. She rushed straight to the entrance of Building 13, the girls' dormitory. Daniel was walking out side by side with Susan, and the two were talking about something. Susan had a faint smile on her face. Helen charged over like a madwoman and shoved Susan aside. Gripping the fruit knife in her hand, she slashed it across her own face. The moment the blade cut through her skin, it made a faint hiss sound, and blood immediately trickled down her cheek, staining her chin and collar red. Helen trembled in pain but stared fiercely at Daniel, her voice distorted by agony and agitation. Look, am I not more pitiful than her now? My face is cut, I'm disfigured, I've become the ugliest. Don't you like saving the pitiful? Save me. The air around them instantly froze. The students who had been laughing and playing all stopped, staring at the scene in horror. Contrary to Helen's expectations, upon seeing this, Daniel showed not a hint of heartache. Instead, he recoiled as if scalded by something filthy, the disgust in his eyes nearly overflowing. Can you stop using such underhanded tactics? I'm telling you, this is what disgusts me the most. Helen cried even harder, her blood and tears mixing together, smearing across her face, making her look ferocious and terrifying. Didn't you treat me well before just because you pitied me? Now I'm even more pitiful, so why won't you come back? Daniel's voice was full of disgust. I like helping people, but only those who are truly in need. I despise this kind of manufactured misery. It's just plain depressing. Did you think this would make me come back? Dream on. From today on, don't show your face in front of me again. Just the sight of you disgusts me. After saying that, Daniel turned to leave. Helen's crying abruptly stopped, as if her throat had been cut off. She stared blankly at Daniel's resolute back, the last glimmer of light in her eyes completely extinguished, replaced by a near-destructive madness. The moment Daniel turned around, she suddenly grabbed the fruit knife that had fallen on the ground and lunged at him with all her might, the blade plunging deep into his back. Daniel let out a cry of pain, staggering and collapsing to the ground, his shirt quickly soaked with blood. The surrounding crowd erupted into chaos, with screams and gasps mingling together. Some frantically pulled out their phones to call the police, while others backed away in fear. Helen stood frozen in place, her hand still trembling as it gripped the knife handle. A few drops of Daniel's blood splattered on her face, and her eyes were terrifyingly hollow. She looked at Daniel lying on the ground and suddenly began to laugh, the sound both piercing and sorrowful. Look, now you can't leave. None of us will have it easy. You were the one who provoked me first. It was you. Daniel lay on the ground, struggling to look back at her, his eyes filled with terror and disbelief. You. Before finishing the sentence, he lost consciousness. Helen looked at Daniel's face, then at her own blood-stained hands, and suddenly, as if all her strength had been drained, she collapsed to the ground. The sound of sirens grew closer and clearer, like a death knell. She knew she couldn't escape. Just 1 second before the police rushed over, she exerted all her strength, and the blade plunged into her own body. Daniel didn't die in the end, but that strike happened to hit his spinal nerves. He would spend the rest of his life in bed, with only his Eyelids able to move, he could no longer be the savior. His previous actions were also exposed, and the James family group's stock plummeted. In an effort to salvage their reputation, the James family immediately announced their severance of ties with Daniel and offered compensation to all victims that would ensure their financial security for the rest of their lives. As for Helen, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison for intentional assault. The stab wound she inflicted on herself pierced her left lung. Although she survived thanks to timely medical intervention, it left her with lasting health complications. The winter in prison is especially cold. Every time it rains, her left chest feels as if a block of ice has been shoved into it, the pain so intense that it makes her break out in a cold sweat. Her cellmates find her troublesome and always give her a hard time. 20 years is long enough for a young girl to endure into middle age. The high walls of the prison have cut her off from the outside world. She is still alive, but it feels worse